All right, how are we doing, my friends? Welcome back to Real Estate Bites. This is episode 100. Um, 100, man, almost 2 years. I'm just a month away from having done 2 years of this program, which blows my mind. At any rate, thank you for joining me again. Welcome back to Real Estate Bites. This is mostly a weekly program. I come at you most Fridays at noon, trying to bring some real estate news, insight, peek behind the curtain of what goes on in this industry. And this week, I wanted to talk about some initiatives at the federal level to help out with the housing crisis and how much I think those are actually going to help. You know, it's no secret if you've been watching this program at all that I think we have a local, state, and federal crisis in housing, specifically housing affordability. Um, it's due to a housing shortage. The crisis, in my opinion, is one and the same. The shortage is what's causing the affordability issue. And I just hear people clamor all the time for help from Washington, and I don't believe we're going to see it. Okay. I don't believe we're going to see help from Washington, you and I. Not that they're not going to do something. I definitely don't think that they're going to not do something. I just think that whatever it is the administration chooses to do, it's not going to help you and I. Okay. So there's a couple main things that they're talking about doing. Um, and really, all right, guys, I'm getting on my soapbox today, is what I'm doing, hopping up on my soapbox because honestly, it's been a hell of a busy week, and I didn't have much time to prepare for this one. So let me take you over to this and jump into what I'm getting at here, guys. I saw this article here in Yahoo Finance talking about. There you go. You see Batman and Robin there, the dynamic duo. But this article was talking about Trump wants to unleash America's housing market, which interesting word. Sounds pretty silly to me. But at any rate, he's been talking about, beating up on Jerome Powell here lately, talking about lowering the interest rates so that we could unleash the housing market. If you've watched Real Estate Bites at all over the last 2 or 3 months, and especially last week, you would know that I believe that lower interest rates will be a very, very temporary solution for the regular, for average uh, Joe and average Jane, which I am. I'm average Jonathan. It'll be a very temporary solution for the housing market. It will cause some more inventory to come online as as people feel comfortable refinancing out of their 2.5 to 3.5% interest rate into a 5% interest rate. So a little more inventory will come online. There will be a mad rush. It'll make housing a little more affordability by way of monthly payment for people. They'll be able to afford more house. But it's going to be a short-lived thing. I would guess within 6 months you're going to see home values increase because of the mad rush of buyers back into the market, trying to buy at more affordable levels. And then it's also going to make money cheaper for the real estate investor who is going to use that leverage to purchase more acquisitions for their portfolio, which is going to cause home prices to go up again, thereby any bit of relief that we had from lower interest rates will be washed away by higher valuations on the property. Okay, that's an argument I've been making. I've been making that for well over a year now. And so, what's the other thing that they're talking about doing? In this article, it talks about how Marjorie Taylor Greene has put forth a bill. Here we go. The No Tax on Home Sales Act. And so, what they want to do is eliminate in this bill, they want to eliminate the capital gains tax on the sale of a personal residence. Um, and so, this sounds great. And listen, I'm all for reduced or eliminated taxes. I'm not an anarchist. I don't believe you can live without government. I think government is something that just exists inside of the human race forever. It starts in the home. Mom and dad are the authority, right? And the kids follow the orders. That's government, right? When you have a little bit of civilization, a little bit of community, you need government. You need an arbitrator. You need somebody to make decisions, especially when there is a stronger member of the community who is having his way with the weaker members of the community. You need someone to protect those weaker members. That is government at the smallest level, right? There's no such thing as a human race or community without government. All right, it's just a part of our makeup as a species. So I'm not an anarchist. I also don't think that a government, if it's going to exist, can function without taxation of some sort, without collecting something from its constituency in order to operate. However, I am not a fan of watching our federal government um, with trillion-dollar deficits, exacting a toll of 30% on average amongst the American population to go do with whatever they want with that money. That's that's just atrocious to me. Um, I like small government. Okay, so nevertheless, uh, they're talking about getting rid of the um, capital gains tax here on the sale of a primary or personal residence, which I'm in favor of. I support it. But the question is, who does it help? I mean, really, who does it help? The current, as it sits right now, the law written in 1997, which is clearly outdated. I mean, we're almost 30 years old, and everything costs more than it did 30 years ago. Home values are significantly higher than they were 30 years ago. So the law written 30 years ago states that if you sell your primary residence and your profit from that sale is less than $250,000, you do not have to pay the capital gains tax. And that is if you are filing as a single taxpayer. If you're filing jointly, then that exemption threshold goes up to $500,000, right? So that just begs the question, who is it that is really um, this is a concern for? Who is it that, what homeowners do you know? I'm asking you folks out there, what homeowners do you know that you believe a married couple has a $500,000 of equity in their home? On the coasts, I see, sure, right? But here in Northeast Ohio, where the median home sale is right around $280,000, right? How many of those $280,000 home sales are free and clear? That's not a large percentage. Okay. It's a small percentage. So, how many people is this really benefiting? How many people would this benefit to the point where it's going to get them back into the market as home sellers and bring their home to supplement the inventory in the real estate market? I just don't think it's going to be a great number of people. Who does this help? Just like lower interest rates are really truly designed to help, it's the very rich. It's the very rich who has this type of equity, who can escape from paying significant capital gains taxes when they sell their personal residence. You know, it's the very rich who benefit from these lower interest rates. Because again, if they drop the interest rates and you don't get in the game and make a purchase immediately, if you wait 6 months, you're going to lose the benefit. The average Joe and Jane will lose the benefit of that reduced interest rate, okay, as prices go up. But for that large company, investment firm, real estate investment trust to be able to borrow and just take millions upon millions of dollars at that lower interest rate and buy up a bunch of inventory out in the marketplace, that's who benefits, okay? So the soapbox message is this: the the federal government isn't going to do anything to help you. They're not coming to the rescue. They're not coming. They do nothing to help the average Joe and Jane. They simply don't. They don't. They don't care. It's not who they are serving, and they haven't served the average person for a long, long time. If we want to see real change in real estate and in the marketplace that comes from a government level, it's got to start grassroots. It's got to start with your local municipality, right? Changing zoning laws, making it easier and cheaper for builders to build smaller homes or more homes or multifamily homes. It's got to come from the state level to either subsidize or assist in legislation your community to do the things that I just said, right? And none of this really happens unless you and I are involved, especially if you are a real estate professional Whether you're a broker, an agent, an investor, a property management company, if you're a real estate professional and you're not involved locally in some way, shape, or form, you're failing yourself in your industry and you're failing your clients in one way, shape, or form. That's what's going on. Um, you know, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. As I learn more, I will be putting a message out here on Real Estate Bites. I have talked about legislation in the past that's getting kicked around on in the state Senate floor, and where those things are. They recently just passed something that gives tax credits and incentives for construction in rural communities. All right, this is a place where state monies don't get to very often, and now they have just passed a bill that is off. I think it's like $100 million in incentives or subsidies to build housing in rural Ohio. But we need more of that. Okay, $100 million is not going to go terribly far once the bureaucracy has gobbled up a good chunk of that. Okay. Um, but get involved. All right. You got to get involved. I have a meeting coming up here in a couple of weeks with my state rep, Joe Miller, to talk about these very initiatives. I've met with him once, and we're going to have our second meeting where we talked about in our last meeting putting a plan together, he and I, to begin to approach some of the local mayors here in the part of Lorain County that he represents, which is northern Lorain County. If you don't know who your state rep is, there's this thing called Google that could really help you figure that out in a short amount of time. Nevertheless, guys, listen, get involved. Um, Housing affordability is a big deal. I've talked about it before. You know, the less people are able to own a home or build their upon their own wealth, the more and more control we cede to the authorities, to government. Okay, and that's not a good and healthy thing for a nation or a state, in my opinion. All right, the power should belong with us, the people, and not with the government who has a monopoly on violence. All right. So listen, get involved. I'm going to keep talking about this. I'm going to keep bringing ways that avenues that you can get involved. I'm going to talk about my own advocacy and what I'm trying to do. So stay tuned to see those things. All right. That wraps up what I wanted to wrap about here. Let's get into the local statistics. So I take a look at these stats every Friday morning. And hold on a second. There we go. Sorry about that. I was having technical difficulties. I take a look at these stats every Friday morning. They all come from the local MLS, and they're all Lorain County. Um, as we talked about last week, Lorain County is not the same as Cuyahoga. It's not the same as Stark or Summit, but it's close enough that it gives you a good idea as to what's going on. So, at any rate, here we are. The inventory this morning was 510 single family homes and condos for sale in Lorain County. Now, take a look at this, guys. If we go all the way back to episode number 1, this is at 510 units for sale. And again, I only look at single family and condominiums. I'm not looking at multifamily, and I am not looking at mobile homes. But this is the first time in 100 episodes, and I want to say I missed 4 or 5 weeks in those 100 episodes. So 105 weeks, let's say. It's the first time that we've had inventory over 500 units for sale at one time in Lorain County. So inventory's up. Okay. That is a good thing. It is better, but it's still very much a seller's market. The inventory, the supply side of the equation is still so lopsided, versus demand, being low supply and relatively high demand. Okay, 84 homes were closed on last week. The median square feet of those homes was 1,720. The median value of homes sold last week was 286,000. Median square foot value $176.48. That was for the homes that were closed last week. So talk about this column G all the time. This is the stat line that I'm looking at, okay, to see what's going on with prices in real time. And over here, take a look. So I cruised a whole month past the close of Q2 2025 when I usually take a look at that stat line. But I looked at it this morning and I did the average. The average median square foot value for homes being sold here in Lorain County jumped up to $170.24 a square foot. Okay, that is, do some quick math here. That is about $5 and what, 26 cents? $5. So over $5 more a square foot from the preceding quarter. So again, home prices are going up, guys. Before that, we're at 159, 160. We see we flattened out a little bit right there. But then before that, it was 156, 143, 148. Okay, look, you can see the trend, guys. This is the first quarter where we had an average median square foot value above $170, okay, a square foot. Jay and I talked last week when he visited about lower buyer activity. I can say I am seeing it. I'm talking to other agents that I'm in deals and negotiations with. They're seeing it as well. Let's see how it translates in the future into this square foot value. All right. Nevertheless, 12 days was the median time on market, the median number of days on market for homes sold last week. That's less than 2 weeks that it took to get on the market, show the house, receive offers, negotiate, get under contract, and then pass through the contingency phase to come off the market. Less than 2 weeks for the homes that sold last week. Homes are flying, guys. It's still on average across the board. Homes are selling quickly. This morning, the market woke up at 6.75% for a 30-year conventional mortgage note. And then the big sale of last week was $950,000 in Avon Lake. So we'll come on over here and take a look at this beauty. This big colonial, I want to say, was in Bridgeside. I mean, you can see why it was almost $1 million. It's huge. It's 3,800 square feet above ground, right? This is one of those 3,800 square foot homes where, I didn't pull the stats from Zillow and it aggregated the above ground and below ground. This is 3,800 square feet above ground. Big house, big, beautiful back patio with the in-ground pool overlooking Lake Avon Lake Bridgeside here, right next to the retention pond. So real nice. I'm sure the wildlife you get back there is beautiful. A big, beautiful house, right? Beautiful 3-season room right off the deck. I love the way they mixed rustic with modern in this house. I love the way the colors bounce off one another as you look through the house. You can see how that red is real sharp against all the neutrals around it. Nice balance of color. Typically, not a fan of wallpaper. For some reason, I love the way that room looks. Love it. Some of these finishes are dated. The square tiles that are um, perfectly set against one another. Not much the trend now. The wood cabinets, not much the trend right now. But in this home, they all work quite beautifully. It's just a beautiful, beautiful big house. Nice big office. We just keep on. Here's the master bedroom. Big bathroom, big closets, spare bedrooms. And this is the basement. Nice finished basement. So at any rate, that's the big boy of the week. $950,000 in Bridgeside in Avon Lake. That wraps it up today, folks. Hey, as always, I appreciate you very much joining me every single week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. I love you, people. I'll see you next week.